I found messages proving my mom was cheating. She called my dad crying and had me diagnosed as delusional. Okay, so listen, I've been carrying this absolutely crushing weight for almost a decade now. And these past few weeks, they've utterly shattered everything I thought I knew about my family, about myself, about how life is supposed to work. It feels like I've been walking on solid ground my entire life, only to suddenly realize it was a crumbling illusion. The cracks were always there, festering beneath the surface. I just didn't see them until they ripped wide open beneath me, swallowing everything whole. To truly understand how my world imploded, I have to take you back to where it all began. I was 16, just a regular teenager. You know, school, friends, typical drama, nothing special. One evening, my mom was in the kitchen, cooking dinner, and she just casually asked me to grab a recipe from her phone. It was such a small, innocuous request, something I'd done a million times. No big deal, right? But as I scrolled through her saved notes, a text notification popped up. It was from someone named Thomas. And the first few words, my stomach just dropped. Last night was amazing. I froze. I knew that name. Thomas worked with my mom. He was just a fixture. Someone I'd seen at office parties, barbecues, holiday gatherings. Just another familiar face in the background of my life. At first, I tried to rationalize it. No, I'm misunderstanding. It's innocent. I'm reading too much into it. But this cold dread, this icy claw, started gripping my insides. And before I could stop myself, before I could even think, I tapped on the message. That's when my entire world, the solid foundation I thought I stood on, flipped violently upside down. The messages weren't just flirty. They were explicit. And even worse, they had been going on for years. Years. For weeks after that, I was in a haze. I felt physically sick with guilt, with a suffocating fear, with the unbearable weight of knowing something I was never, ever supposed to find out. My dad, my amazing dad, he had no idea, and he didn't deserve any of this. He was the kindest, most hardworking man. He was always there for us, no matter what. Even running his own small business, working those insane hours, he still made time. He helped with homework, made pancakes every single weekend, tucked us in every night. The thought of him being betrayed like this, my chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. It was like I was holding a secret that was too heavy, too toxic, for one person to carry. And then another thought, a truly terrifying one, crept in. Something I desperately didn't want to consider. The timeline. My little sister was 14 at the time, which meant she was born right around the same time these texts with Thomas had started. No, I'm overthinking it. I'm just being paranoid. But then, the more I looked at her, the more I started to notice. She didn't look like Dad, not like I did. Her features were softer. Her hair was lighter. The more I paid attention, the more I started to see him in her. Thomas. Once that thought, that insidious seed, had been planted, I couldn't shake it. It was like a switch had flipped, and suddenly, I couldn't unsee it. I went down a rabbit hole, digging through old family photos, comparing features, searching for any scrap of proof at birthday parties, at holiday gatherings. Anything that could prove or disprove what I was beginning to believe. And the deeper I looked, the more utterly convinced I became. My sister might not be my dad's biological daughter. I tried to push it away. I told myself I was being ridiculous, seeing things that weren't there. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. And eventually, I couldn't keep it inside anymore. One night, it was just me and my mom in the kitchen. Dad was still at work. My sister was out with friends. I confronted her. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding like a drum against my ribs. But I needed answers. I thought. I hoped. Maybe she would break down. She'd admit the truth, and we could figure out where to go from there. That's not what happened. She lost it. She didn't just deny it. She twisted everything, turned it right back around on me. She called me crazy, accused me of invading her privacy. She made me feel like I was the one doing something wrong. And before I could even process what was happening, she grabbed her phone and called my dad. I'll never forget it. The way she sobbed into the phone, playing the victim. She made it sound like I was accusing her of the most horrible, disgusting things. By the time my dad got home, she had already spun the entire story in her favor. Suddenly, I wasn't a heartbroken daughter, reeling from a devastating discovery. I was just a difficult, rebellious teenager, making up malicious lies. My dad sat me down. His voice was soft, his eyes filled with such deep, aching disappointment. He told me he understood I was going through a tough time, but I couldn't say things like that about my own mother. That look in his eyes, it shattered me. He believed her. Completely. And in that moment, I knew there was nothing, absolutely nothing, I could do. So I buried it. I pretended I had just been acting out, exactly like they wanted me to. I pushed it all down, deep, deep down, and tried to move on. But no matter how much time passed, it never really went away. It was always there, a venomous secret, lurking in the back of my mind, just waiting. And what happened next? It was nothing short of a living nightmare. After my mom spun her web of lies and made me out to be the bad guy, my parents took things even further. It wasn't enough that they refused to believe me. They wanted to prove I was the problem. They dragged me to multiple psychiatrists, desperate to get a diagnosis that would justify their version of reality. And they got exactly what they wanted. I was labeled paranoid tendencies, depression, even delusional thinking. My mom played her role flawlessly, a heartbroken, concerned parent who just wanted to help her troubled child. She told the doctors that my false beliefs about her affair and my sister's paternity were just symptoms of something deeper. She painted a picture of a daughter spiraling, lost in some fantasy world of her own creation. And when I refused to back down, when I insisted that I knew what I had seen, that I wasn't making it up, they escalated things in a way I never, ever expected. They had me admitted to a mental health facility. For 3 months. 3 agonizing months. I was trapped in a place where every single person around me was trying to convince me that I was sick. I was medicated, monitored, and repeatedly told that I was suffering from false memories. Therapists sat across from me, calmly explaining that my accusations against my mother were a coping mechanism, a way for my troubled mind to process other emotional struggles. They told me I had misinterpreted things, that I was projecting insecurities, that I needed to accept their truth. The gaslighting was relentless. I wasn't just fighting my parents anymore. I was fighting an entire system that had already decided I was broken. And after a while, it started to work. I would lie awake in that sterile room, staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they were right. Maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe I had imagined those texts. Maybe I was losing my mind. The absolute worst part of it all was losing my sister. The person I had been trying to protect the most was the one who turned against me completely. It wasn't just distance. She actively hated me. My mom must have fed her so many lies, because she saw me as the enemy. Someone who had tried to tear our family apart out of jealousy or spite. She shut me out completely, and I had no way to fix it. When I was finally released, things at home were unbearable. My parents treated me like I was fragile. Like a ticking time bomb, they had to tiptoe around. Any disagreement, no matter how small, was immediately thrown back in my face as proof of my mental instability. Every time I tried to push back, I was reminded of my history of making things up, of my condition, and of how they had helped me through my breakdown. The manipulation never stopped. And some days, I actually believed them. Maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe I had overreacted. The line between truth and fiction had been blurred so profoundly that even I wasn't sure anymore. But I knew one thing for certain. I had to get out. The second I turned 18, I was gone. I moved as far away as I possibly could for college, taking out massive loans so I wouldn't have to rely on my parents for anything. I knew that if I depended on them financially, they would use it as another leash to control me. So, I cut as many ties as I could. I built a new life. Went to college, got my degree, and landed a solid job in tech. I made real friends, people who saw me for who I was, not for the monster my parents had made me out to be. I kept contact with my family to an absolute bare minimum. The occasional holiday call, a few birthday texts, just enough to avoid any unnecessary drama. My sister had blocked me on social media years ago, so there was nothing left to salvage there. Then, just last week, my dad called. The second I heard his voice, I knew. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. He sounded broken in a way I had never, ever heard before. Like someone had utterly crushed him. Turns out, my mom's affair never ended. After all these years, my dad had finally caught them together. At their vacation home, of all places, he'd hired a private investigator, and what they uncovered was undeniable. Years of proof. Emails, text messages, Conversations that stretched back long before I had ever found those texts on my mom's phone. And among the messages were discussions about my sister's paternity. Everything. Everything I had tried to tell them a decade ago was true. My dad broke down crying. He apologized. For everything. For not believing me. For letting them lock me away. For failing me as a father. He told me he was divorcing my mom. And that he wanted to fix things between us. He wanted to rebuild our relationship. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt relief. But all I felt was a cold, searing rage. How was I supposed to just accept his apology? How was I supposed to pretend like everything was fine now that he finally had the truth? What about the years I had lost? The time I spent being medicated, convinced I was insane? The relationship with my sister that had been utterly destroyed? The trust one had lost in my family, in authority figures, in myself? I told him that if he really wanted to apologize, he needed to give me those years back. But of course, that wasn't possible. And that's when his regret turned into anger. He called me a disappointment, accused me of being selfish, told me he was hurting too, and that at least he was trying to make things right. And now, I don't know what to do. Logically, I understand that my dad was a victim of my mom's lies too. He was manipulated just like I was. But at the same time, he chose to believe her over me. He didn't even consider looking into what I was saying. He dismissed me so easily. Let them lock me away without a second thought. How do you forgive something like that? How do you rebuild a relationship with someone who was so willing to throw you away so quickly? Am I wrong for not accepting his apology? Should I give him another chance? Update 1*. First off, I just have to say thank you. I wasn't expecting this kind of response. And honestly, reading all your comments, it made me cry. For the first time in years, I actually feel like people believe me. Like I'm not crazy. Like what happened to me was real, and just as messed up as I always knew it was. It's overwhelming, but in a way that feels like a weight is finally starting to lift. For so long, I've carried this alone, buried under years of doubt and relentless gaslighting. But hearing from so many people who see it for what it truly was, I don't even have the words. Just thank you. Yesterday, I talked to my therapist about everything. My dad's call, the fire of rage that's been sitting in my chest, and all the raw emotions that keep hitting me like a freight train. She helped me realize something I hadn't fully grasped before. My rage isn't just about my dad. It's about all the adults who should have protected me and didn't. It's about the psychiatrists who never stopped to consider that maybe, just maybe, a teenager could be telling the truth. It's about the staff at the mental health facility who blindly reinforced my mom's lies instead of questioning them. And yes, of course, it's about my dad who chose the easy way out, who decided it was simpler to believe I was mentally ill than to actually listen to me. It wasn't just one betrayal. It was an entire system of people I should have been able to trust. And they all failed me, completely, at the same time. A lot of people asked if I could take legal action against the mental health facility. That thought had definitely crossed my mind before, but hearing so many of you bring it up made me actually look into it. I spoke to a lawyer who specializes in medical malpractice, and unfortunately, the answer wasn't what I wanted to hear. Legally, proving malpractice would be nearly impossible. The facility followed all the standard protocols based on the information they were given, meaning, based on what my parents told them. On paper, they weren't acting maliciously. They were just doing their job, even if their job meant reinforcing a lie that utterly destroyed my life. And legally, even if there was something there, the statute of limitations has most likely passed. So basically, I have to live with the fact that what happened to me was deeply, profoundly wrong, but there's no real way to hold anyone accountable for it. It's frustrating, but at this point, I'm just trying to figure out how to move forward. And then there's my sister. She emailed me today, a long message, full of apologies and regret. She said she feels completely lost now that she knows the truth, like everything she thought she knew about our family has been flipped upside down. She admitted that she believed everything our mom told her and never thought to question it. And now, knowing that she spent all these years hating me for something that wasn't true, she doesn't know how to process it. And I don't know what to do with that. I haven't responded yet, because honestly, I don't know how. How do you even begin to rebuild a relationship that was shattered by a lie that massive? This wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. It wasn't some petty sibling argument that got blown out of proportion. It was 10 years of her believing I was a jealous, spiteful person who tried to rip our family apart for no reason. She didn't just distance herself. She hated me. She blocked me. She cut me out of her life completely. And now, out of nowhere, she wants to talk. I wish I could say I knew what I wanted, but I don't. A part of me feels like I should be open to it, that she was just as much a victim of our mom's lies as I was. But another part of me, I can't forget how easily she threw me away, how little she fought for me, how quickly she believed the worst about me without even trying to hear my side. It's not that I want to hold a grudge. I just don't know if I can trust her. I don't know if I'm ready to open that door again, to risk getting hurt all over again. So, for now, I'm just sitting with it, trying to figure out what feels right. Because after everything I've been through, I refuse to let anyone pressure me into forgiving or forgetting before I'm ready. Update 2 asterisk things have escalated faster than I ever could have imagined. Just 2 days ago, my mom showed up at my apartment, completely unannounced. And to this day, I still have no idea how she even got my address. The second I opened the door, I knew it was going to be bad. She looked like a wreck, crying, shaking, flipping between begging for forgiveness and blaming me for everything that had happened. One moment, she was sobbing about how much she regretted everything. And the next, she was furious, saying I had destroyed our family. She actually had the nerve to tell me that if I had just kept my mouth shut all those years ago, everything would have been fine, as if I was the problem. Not her cheating, not the years of lying, not the fact that she manipulated and gaslit her own child. No, in her mind, everything fell apart because I refused to look the other way. The level of delusion was absolutely unbelievable. I tried to stay calm, even though every part of me wanted to scream until my throat was raw. I told her she needed to leave, that I wasn't doing this, that I had nothing to say to her. But she wouldn't go. She just kept going, crying, yelling, even grabbing my arm when I tried to walk away. I could feel myself shutting down, going into survival mode, just trying to get her out of my space. But no matter what I said, she refused to listen. It got so bad that I had no choice but to call security. That was the only thing that finally got her to leave, when they physically escorted her out because she still wouldn't go on her own. Even as she was being taken away, she kept screaming that I was ruining everything, that I was turning my back on my own mother, as if she hadn't already done that to me years ago. After that, I was shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. But I knew I had to call my dad. Not to reconcile, not to talk it out, just to tell him to keep her the hell away from me. I wasn't about to let this turn into a pattern where she just showed up whenever she felt like it and tried to force her way back into my life. I thought that was going to be the worst of it. But then my dad said something that made me feel physically sick. Apparently, some extended family members had known. They had noticed the way my mom and her co-worker acted around each other. They had suspicions, just like I did. They saw the same things I saw. And yet, instead of saying anything, instead of stepping in or even just asking if I was okay, they decided to stay quiet. They wanted to keep the peace. They didn't want to destroy the family. Let that sink in. These are the same people who stood by while I was called a liar. The same people who had no problem watching me get sent away, medicated, gaslit, and completely cut off from my own family. They knew something wasn't right, but they still let it happen. All because they didn't want to make waves. I don't even know how to process that. The idea that I was suffering alone, that I was screaming the truth into the void while people who could have helped me just chose not to, it's too much. Right now, I've decided to take a leave of absence from work. I honestly wasn't expecting my boss to be as understanding as they were, but they totally were, and I'm beyond grateful for it. I need time. Time to think. Time to breathe. Time to not feel like I have to constantly look over my shoulder, waiting for my mom to show up again. I'm staying with a friend. I need some space, some distance, a place where I don't feel like my past is going to show up on my doorstep at any second. And I've already contacted a lawyer about getting a restraining order against my mom. Because this isn't over. And I refuse to let her keep trying to control my life. Update 3 asterisk, I wasn't planning to share another update so soon, but something huge just happened, and I feel like I need to get it off my chest. Out of nowhere, my sister's biological dad, my mom's old co-worker, Thomas, got in touch. But not directly. He had his lawyer contact us, which already set off alarm bells in my head, believe me. And here's the part that completely threw me off. He wants to make things right, financially. He's offering to pay for therapy for both me and my sister. And on top of that, he's talking about setting up a trust to cover what would have been my college expenses, plus interest. It's a lot. But of course, it doesn't stop there. He also claims that my mom told him I knew about their affair back then and that I was totally okay with it, which is just insane. Just another one of her lies. Another piece of the fake story she built to make sure everything stayed in her control. Now he says he feels guilty. Guilty for believing her. Guilty for standing by while my life got torn apart. Guilty for not stepping in when he heard I ended up in the hospital. And now he wants to do something about it. Like throwing money at the situation will somehow undo everything that happened. My dad is absolutely furious about all of this. He thinks this guy has no right to suddenly swoop in and act like he's fixing things with a fat check. To him, this isn't generosity. It's a slap in the face. Like he's trying to buy forgiveness or wipe away the past with money. My sister, on the other hand, is completely spiraling. It's like her entire identity has been ripped out from under her. She's questioning everything, trying to piece together what parts of her life were real and what were just lies told to keep the truth hidden. And in the middle of all this, my mom is making things even worse. She's now threatening to drag out the divorce and make it as painful as possible if my dad dares to let me accept any money from her ex. She just has to have control over everything, even now. And me? I'm stuck. Stuck in the middle of a mess that keeps getting bigger no matter how much I just want to be done with it. A part of me wants to just take the money and disappear. Start fresh somewhere else, somewhere far away from all of this. But there's this nagging feeling, this voice in the back of my head telling me that accepting it would make me part of the cover-up. Like I'd just be letting them throw money at the situation to make it go away, to pretend like none of this ever happened. And I don't know if I can live with that. My therapist told me to take my time and to sit with everything before making any decisions. But it feels impossible when things are moving so fast. Every time I think I'm starting to figure things out, another bombshell drops, and I'm back at square one. It's exhausting. It's like I can't even catch my breath before the next wave of drama comes crashing down on me. I just want peace. I just want to heal. But how am I supposed to do that when every single day brings something new to deal with? Right now, I feel completely torn. A huge part of me wants to cut everyone out of my life. Just walk away from all of it. No explanations, no second chances, nothing. Just leave it all behind and build a life where none of this follows me. But then there's the guilt. The part of me that feels like I'd be abandoning my sister, even though she's only now realizing the truth. The part of me that wonders if I'd regret giving up on my dad completely. I don't know if there's any way to truly fix things with them after everything that's happened. But I also don't know if I can just not try. And then there's the money. Do I take it? Do I use it to give myself a better future? Or would it just make everything worse? Make me feel like I'd let them buy me off, like I'd put a price on what I went through? I have no idea what the right choice is. No matter which way I look at it, it feels like the wrong answer. Writing this all out should be helping, but honestly, it's only making me feel more lost. I thought maybe laying it all out would give me some clarity, but instead, I just feel like I'm sinking even deeper into this mess. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. Update 4*K everyone. I just wanted to give you an update on everything that's been going on. After a lot of back and forth, a lot of sleepless nights, I finally decided to accept the financial help from my mom's old coworker, my sister's biological dad. It wasn't an easy choice. I went back and forth on it more times than I can count. But in the end, I decided that I needed to do what was best for me, no matter what anyone else thought. I talked to a lawyer. Thankfully, a friend's dad was able to help with that, and we're making sure everything is done properly. Everything is being documented. All legal. No strings attached. This isn't about making peace with the past or forgiving anyone. It's just about securing a future for myself that I never really got the chance to have. As expected, my parents completely lost it. My dad has been texting me nonstop, saying I've broken the family, and that I should never have accepted help from someone who, in his words, is basically a stranger. It's like he'd rather see me struggle than accept anything from this guy, even though my dad himself never lifted a finger to help me when I needed it most. And then there's my mom. Her reaction has been exactly what you'd expect, pure chaos. She's been flipping out, not just at me, but at him, too. And honestly, even he's done with her at this point. After everything that's happened, he's finally had enough. He told her outright that he didn't want to stay with her anymore. I don't know why that surprised me, but it did. I guess even the people who enable her eventually get sick of the chaos she creates. My sister is still struggling, still trying to figure out where she stands in all of this. But at this point, I just can't keep focusing on other people's emotions when I'm barely keeping my own in check. I've been through too much. And for the first time, I feel like I have a chance to step back and actually think about myself for once. I spent so many years trying to be heard, trying to be believed, trying to fix things that were never mine to fix. But now, I don't owe anyone anything. Not my dad. Not my mom. Not even my sister. If she wants to work things out, that's on her. I just can't carry that weight anymore. I still don't have everything figured out. Not by a long shot. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's reached out. The supportive messages, the kind words, it really does mean more than I can say. Even though things are still a mess, it helps to know that people are rooting for me. And for the first time in a very long time, I actually feel like I have a chance to breathe.